Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Duval Dive. Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, a student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you're listening to this thing on the Believe Podcast Network. Travis, I got to tell you this. After doing Wednesday night's episode, and this is a credit to all you Duval devout out there, showing your advanced intelligence to compared to a lot of fan bases I've interacted with. And not just in NFL fan bases, like all the sports I cover, whether I'm talking college football or basketball with the Black and Gold Banneret and Night Shift podcast, or NBA fan bases in my coverage of the Orlando Magic at various places. There was a whole lot of conversation that focused more on the silver lining of the future, despite Travis going full ball nowhere and analyzing the playoff loss and what could have been better. There's so much focus on what could have been better and what could have been more positive. And I'm not saying it started with this particular occurrence in the post-game press conference. And I know it's a little bit old news now, but we felt compelled to bring it up. And that, of course, is Lynn Jones offering the uplift to Liam Coen. If you're hiding under a rock and hadn't seen it yet, we got it for you right here.
Jacksonville Free Press News. I just want to tell you congratulations on your success, young man.
Thank you.
You hold your head up, all right? You guys have had a most magnificent season.
Thank you.
And you did a great job out there today.
Appreciate
so you
it.
just hold your head up, okay?
Thank
and
you,
ladies
ma'am.
and gentlemen, Duval, you the one, all
Thank
right?
you, ma'am.
keep it going. We got another season, okay?
I appreciate
Take
it.
care and much continued success to you and the entire team.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I want to throw a little analysis into this, right? And by the way, it's an element of it that you could see if you wanted to kind of cross-reference to my observations to what happened on the video Duval Dive YouTube channel. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Get a hold of your life and enjoy yourself talking Duval stuff. But seeing his first reaction to Ms. Jones, I feel like with her tenure and her decades of experience being a member of the press, an actual journalist, Travis, for all the stuff I do, I call myself an analyst. I don't call myself a journalist. Lynn Jones is clearly a journalist,
Right.
to her core. I'm going to leave that at that. Has
Right.
she been perfect? No. Did she ask somebody about weather conditions in an indoor stadium? And that's okay. We all screw up there in that room. I've done it myself before. Punchline's this. To watch Liam Coen, as she gets off the ground, get real guarded, wondering, okay, she's buttering me up. When's the question coming? And when he realizes where she's going and what she's doing, that smile that comes out to realize that he's come so far by being embraced by this community, going from all the jokes regarding Duval to where he is now at a 9-game improvement, 13-4 season, talking about a playoff performance where he fell just short. That gap between then and now was more evident in that transition from guard to smile in that view that I saw there. But Travis, I know you got some takes and what you saw there in that exchange, man. Go ahead and weigh in.
Man, first thing first, like I love Lynn. I love the back and forth because it just reminds me of an auntie. Like it reminds me of a black auntie. It reminds me of a black grandma. Like it reminds me of I have lost 2 of my aunts. Like many people don't know that. Like I've lost 2 of my aunts. So like it gives me those warm and fuzzies just at my core. Like, oh, yeah, they speak life into you. They speak beauty into you. Like, all those things. And it's just like, and you can see that entire thing going through Liam Coen's mind in that 27-second clip. And if you were to watch the full presser in its full context, you will see, hey man, he starts off the presser like, head down. He's looking down. He's barely even looking up at the camera, at the person talking to him. And by the end of that statement from her, that 27 seconds, he's like a little proud little boy. Like, yeah, like I got this. Like, and then you add an additional context, like, hey man, Liam Coen, they had the public, the athletic breakdown, the article talking about him losing his mom and that process and everything else. And you package it with that.
Wow.
That's a black mama out here just giving this man full confidence in front for the whole world to see. And you package it with all that to then have other, reporters come out later. I mean, the big one was Mark Long with the AP saying there was nothing awesome about fans/fake media doing stuff like that. It should be embarrassing for the people who credentialed her and her organization. And it's a waste of time for us actually working. Oh, Bruh.
Bitter party of one. Good God. But go ahead, Travis. I'll add more to that concept, but go ahead. Take the lead, please.
That's a rough statement. And even if let's say at your core, you're right in what you're saying, how you say it matters significantly, because you can't call someone who's the associate editor for a newspaper for 40 plus years, who's interviewed multiple big time people. And I'm not talking like big time, I'm talking about like the former president, Barack Obama. I'm talking like Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan. I'm talking like big time people, because she's the boss. Like, in that way, it's kind of like, it feels like you might have an issue, not just with with what she said, but also like other things. And I actually don't believe that about Mark, to be real about that. That's the worst part about it. I just know how it is in that room, because you've been in that room with me. We've been in this room, and we know the unwritten rules about no cheering in the press box. We know there are written rules about the professionalism, but we also know that these rules are unwritten, and you can do what you want to do, because these, again, 40 years in this thing, and she's done it with some of the biggest people. It's kind of hard to say she broke rules, because people outside of the room don't understand it. They're just like, dude, she is out there being a human to this guy on the last presser of the season. And that does matter. It's not during the week. It's not during the year where there's something else that's coming. This is basically his last presser for the year. So she's just giving this man a pat on the back, as a human on a human level should. So I get it, bro. And I also get what Mark was probably trying to say, but you got to know when to shut up. Real talk. Real talk. You are not going to win this public battle putting that on the socials. And maybe someone like Mark don't care. Like, I don't know, maybe that's it. But that's not the time or the place. If you feel like that's not the time or the place for her to say that, cool. I can agree. I can even maybe get down with you and agree with you from a professionalism level. But it's also not the time and the place for you to say nothing.
Certainly not the time or place to be calling somebody with that kind of tenure fake. With all due respect, who the bleep are you, right? That's where I come out with this. And it's so interesting to me, because I'm of two separate minds on this. And for those that don't know, listen, Travis has his finger on the pulse of Duval and is in there. He's a member of the Duval Dive, right where with you guys and all you divers out there that are on the Duval Dive with us, or even those of you who are new. Travis is more in touch and knows what's going on with Jacksonville, Jaguar media and fandom, such that it is. Heck, I'm a Niners fan. I'm in the community here, participating and having fun watching football, and frankly, having a great opportunity to appreciate Liam Coen than I otherwise would have. But what I can tell you that I have that Travis don't, and he'll even speak for this for himself. I'm speaking for you here, champion. I hope that's okay. I have a lot more experience in press rooms, not just in Duval there, but I cover the Orlando Magic. I've done at least 20 bowl games. I've lost count. I've covered the college ranks in UCF over here, Black and Gold Banneret, Night Shift Podcast, blah, blah, blah. I've been in several different rooms, including that one. And I know there's some elements and Mark Jackson, I forget the guy's name already. That's how much his comments speak to me. But the thing that's also, it's funny commenting without context, because people are holding that standard of, journalistic integrity. Oh, it's just a fan. The other part that's different in this day and age with the media versus back then is how detached things are than in the past, right? The fact that reporters and media, which media wasn't even a term, you were still just a reporter, right? It was a lot more one-on-ones, a lot fewer people in the space. It was newspapers, all of that. It was a lot more an intimate relationship, to where off record, you might have the opportunity to talk to coach and say something to him off to the side. I personally have had off to the side conversations in other settings where the people aren't as guarded. The relationship I've had, and I'm not going to name names, but at UCF, the relationship I've had with other coaches in other sports is way different than anything I dealt with Dougie P, right? I never got a chance to say anything to him directly, and this was Lynn Jones' one opportunity to do it, because she doesn't. To your point, in the last press conference of the year post-game, it ain't there.
And if she's not someone who's religiously or going to be around the team on a week-by-week basis, maybe she doesn't think she has the opportunity to say it to him on the side, so she wants to say it for the entire fan base publicly to give him public praise, and I fully understand that also.
Right. Now, here's the part, and I'll be fair. For somebody who's been doing it as long as she has, you would have hoped at some point she would have morphed her preamble into a question. That's my only criticism. If you asked a question, I think you would have been fine. But
well, apparently she also clapped at the end of Josh Hines-Allen's press conference also, so that was probably not the greatest situation.
I didn't know about that.
The end, yeah, but I get it from the journalism side, and I get it from the professionalism side, and I also get it from the time and the place and all that packaging to say, hey man, if you have your feelings, cool, that's your feelings, but none of the rules were broken. So I get it from her side. It's like, nah, man, I said what I needed to say. I'm done. You said what you needed to say, cool. But she's obviously seems to be winning this public relations, we'll call it, competition on one side of this. Like to say, the fan base seems to clearly agree with what she said and how she said it.
Yes.
And they don't seem to agree with y'all. I guess that fan base wins.
The part that people forget about when it comes to media is to give the opportunity to bring the people to a space they couldn't otherwise get in. And Lynn Jones did that. That's the part that people keep forgetting. You might be a chronicler, and all of that is in fact a thing, but the reason why you're chronicling is to get people access they can't get on their own, period, point blank, end of story. And that piece gets lost. And listen, I am the most protocol-oriented guy. Travis will tell you that my goal to be in those press rooms is to be the least difficult person in the room, and I have been confirmed to be that in more than one space. Okay, I'll tell you that up front. But the opportunity to have the fans speak back through you is something that exists in newer media that didn't used to in the old hat. The punchline is, this ain't the old media the way that it is. And to be honest,
they don't like it.
It's I think Lynn is more representative of the public than anything that would come out on Twitter.
I think that's actually very accurate, and they probably don't like that because
Maybe.
the established media is never going to like something that's new media. The established media, like to be clear, these guys they congratulate Liam and the coaching staff and James Gladstone all the time. I've seen it with my own eyes to the side, not during when the camera's on, when you have that 15 to 20 minute time frame. So we see that visually to know that this is happening. It's more of those, if Lynn Jones represents new media and the quote unquote fake media or the non-traditional media or whatever package you want to put on it, then that's probably why an old school journalist from the AP or from the ESPN or from whatever would not like it, because then that's a threat. That's ChatGPT on the way. That's the AI. That's the robots.
Do you understand how cool that is, to what you just said? And listen, she wears it well. This is not me criticizing her appearance, but you just said a lady with white hair who's been in the business for 4 decades is a member of new media in the eyes of people. Man, listen, I hope I can still do it like that 4 decades from now. Shoot, what are we talking about, Travis?
She locked in with the fan base. That's what it is.
If you are a member of the media and the press, if you are this locked in with your audience, success is where it starts. Take that in future interns that might be listening to this.
Cool.
So you could tell I feel ways about this, man. I could keep going, but we ain't trying to do that. Let's get some football talk. Well, actually, you know what? Let's get some quote unquote real journalism in here, right? And by journalism, I mean actual analysis. Our own Travis D. Holmes in the room asking questions of Jimmy Stones himself, James Gladstone. Travis, I'm going to give you the honor and privilege to push the button as we play this here, because I want the opportunity
last
to
year
to it in front of the Tigers.
Was still focused on my roles and responsibilities in Los Angeles, wasn't considering what an opportunity in Jacksonville was going to look like. So to be able to have some version of a head start in that process and understand our team at a really deep level is extremely helpful and extremely beneficial. The fact that the timeline of just the scouting cycle remaining consistent up to this point, I'm in a very similar place that I was this time last year with the draft, with pro free agency. The piece that is obviously sped up is now the understanding of our current roster and not being forced to sort of dive into that with very little nuances and depth to it. So I think that's a really helpful piece in order to make some decisions. Now, procedurally, we incorporated new functions and mechanisms that our scouting staff and our coaching staff didn't necessarily have experience with. in the past. So obviously those will be new wrinkles that we'll work in, and looking forward to seeing those unfold in real time. But
so, Travis, first of all, before we get started, give a paraphrase of your question and your reaction to Jimmy Stone's answer there, if you don't mind.
So I had my understanding of what his answer might be, because we've already talked about this for the entire off season. But the question was, so basically, how do you feel from a scouting perspective, from a process perspective, from, organizationally, that this offseason is going to be different than the 2025 offseason for him, since they came in later in the process? He was hired basically a week before the combine. I kind of wanted to understand, what's the material changes going to look like, and give him free reign to kind of answer that question. And that was the answer that he led with.
Quickly, we got to give credit to Big Cat Country for letting you get in the room there on their behalf to ask that. So now that we got the ding out the way, your reaction to his answer, sir.
Well, it was funny because he gave a lot of the answers that I expected him to give, but I wanted to make sure that the public, the Duval Dive, would understand, that these things that we had already talked about. And I think it's really interesting when everyone else is kind of tweeting this out and they're like, hey, I didn't understand that. Hey, I didn't realize that he did all this with Balky's scouting staff, or I didn't realize he did this with Balky's scouting system, or I didn't realize he did this with the understanding of the roster from Ethan Wall. Well, that's because you don't listen to the Duval Dive, because we talked about this in real time for a full month and a half about how this was going to go, and about how the next offseason will truly be a James Gladstone offseason, because he would have his JAR system, which is the LA Rams system for scouting, and how they communicate within their the ways that they type everything in, and kind of just organizationally, like they're building that. That's why they bought Jake Team into the organization for the Jaguars from the Rams, because he was the guy ahead of the technology side of it, basically. So now, knowing that we have all of those things kind of in process, to James' point in his answer, now you can see what a James Gladstone full offseason truly looks like, now that the scouts have already been trained and been hired and morphed into what James' kind of viewpoints are, and Liam's vision of this is. You will be able to better see what this truly is like from his vantage point, versus the last offseason that was kind of reactionary, and you don't know just how much information they basically got from the process, because it was kind of an imperfect thing where they're kind of throwing it together, teaching these guys kind of on the way to the combine and getting done in that way.
Man, listen, first of all, I love the fact that you referenced that we mentioned this as a comment previously on the Duval Dive. And my response to, first of all, great question by you, of course, champion. I know we mentioned last year that there's an element of this where there's going to be kind of an awkwardness, as he's still focused, in his words, he's still focused on LA and all that. The point that I made is he gets a full, the plus side of that is he gets a full year. That's basically, I don't want to say a throwaway when it was a playoff season, but at the time I was saying 8 wins, right? At the time I responded this way, Travis, a division win was a crackheadiest take on the Duval Dive. So when I say
I called it a throwaway win. I called it a throwaway season early on in this process, because of these exact reasons that we're talking about right now. Is I said I didn't know how his first draft class was going to go, and to be clear, it was a lot of injuries, but late round draft picks, a lot of gems and things of that nature. Look, Allen exists. Jonah Monheim did well. Patrick Milam, we still don't know. I mean, there's a few guys, but like overall, I think it was.
Let's be honest, right? Let me bottom line it for you from my perspective, and you can tell me how right or wrong you think I am. The two guys that have any question marks in the entirety, and I mean the entirety of the Jimmy Stone's draft class 1.0, for lack of a better way to describe it, is Jalen McLeod and Caleb Ransaw. And those are the guys that were injured.
Yeah.
One could even argue whether or not Travis Hunter was an issue. I know, and God bless it, I make fun of him all the time, my guy Mark Moses. is already calling Travis Hunter a bust, and what might be among the more ignorant takes I've ever heard him say. The dude's top of the roster in 2 different positions, but he's totally a bust because he got hurt. Anyways, the punchline is even the most critical of that pick, which was amazing in my opinion, that trade, which was amazing in my opinion, he's limited because of injury, not because of the evaluation process. And now he's got all of that in place in his house. People are worried about a first place schedule in 2026, and they should be. But he also has the opportunity to continue to vamp up, albeit with a lessened draft pick pool, so to speak, with a lack of a first round pick, all that stuff. I get it. But hey, listen, what's 20-something as far as draft picks go in the first place? Go ahead, Travis.
Lack of first round draft pick for now.
My man, this guy gets it. You made the point before I could. I'm going to give you a bell for that. So all that to say, if you're a member of the Duval Dive and you aren't, first of all, if you're a Duval diver and you're not encouraged by Travis doing the damn thing, talking to Jimmy Stones, that's a you problem. Second, if you're a member of the Duval Dive and you aren't encouraged by Gladstone's answer, I, in fact, cannot help you. And I'm a Niner fan.
Nah, man, but I just think they did it.
My rival team's shop.
This is the job that they did with Ethan Wall, telling them everything that they needed to know about the previous organization, about the previous iteration of this Jacksonville Jaguars roster. This is them doing it, winging this, basically. So if they can do this well, winging it, I can't imagine what they're going to do with them actually like knowing what the hell's going on and being able to breathe for 30 seconds before like drafting a guy. Like, I think this is a reasonable situation for the Duval Dive, and I hope, knock on wood, that they land these picks, but we'll see.
All this, mind you, Travis, and something we're not talking enough about. You mentioned, I'm going to say, I can only say Patrick Waugh, and I know that's an Avalanche goalie. Say
Ethan Waugh?
Ethan Waugh. Thank you. I forgot his first name right then. Ethan Waugh involved in that transition process, all in or around trying to deal with the transition to a new stadium, among everything else. And no one talking about that, but you better be damn sure it's on his mind. What a job. Just, anyway, so I felt like it was worth adding that in because no one else is talking about it. One might even call that journalism, but I'm not going to go that far. See how I made it full circle? Travis, listen, I am loathed to move on from this point because I think we have a fine analysis of both Lynn Jones and Jimmy Stones at this point, my man. So with that in mind, I tell the world. Tell them where you can be found, Travis.
No, let's wrap this bad boy with one more question, if you don't mind.
See, I knew you were going to do that. We finally hit the clock, and you ain't going to let me do it. This is why it's a challenge to get my guy the ball nowhere here because he want to keep going. But no, I'll do it. I'll get the question in. And it was from our previous Wednesday pod. TP Lifter made a great comment and asked a good question of my ball knower. Some tough decisions need to be made or need to come this offseason. Biggest needs in TP Lifter's opinion are defensive tackle, cornerback, and O-line. Travis, I'm going to put you on the spot. Your initial thoughts, and I allow you to reserve the right to evaluate later based on moves that Liam Coen makes, inevitably.
Yes.
DB, or excuse, he said CB specifically. Let me pull the comment back up. Yeah, he said corner specifically. So corner, D-tackle, or O-line. What is the priority?
So that's funny because it depends on how they operate, obviously. Like if they were to re-sign Montserrat Brown, then cornerback is the less urgent. It's still urgent, but it's less urgent. Like it depends on what the depth looks like. But just knowing that Travis Hunter exists and knowing that Travis Hunter is set to return and be reasonably healthy, you have to believe he's going to be healthy based on his injury, based on the projected recovery as far as that's concerned with training camp. Then cool. He's more likely than not going to be your primary cornerback and also playing a significant amount of snaps at receiver. Then you're not necessarily dire. It'd be great, like depending on the cornerback. But I'm probably going to say defensive tackle feels like it's the more dire thing. And I know folks are probably going to disagree. And I normally I'm a DB guy, so I should be saying cornerback. To be
sorry, the fact you're not saying corner
with my bias, right? With my bias, I should be saying cornerback. But in reality, Travis Hunter exists, and I think a pass rushing dominant defensive tackle. If you told me I can have that or a dominant, cover corner, I'm going defensive tackle all day because they need that and they've needed that for as long as I can remember for this Jacksonville Jaguars organization, especially in the modern versions of it. So yeah, I'm going defensive tackle, cornerback, O-line because Gladstone in that same presser mentioned the interesting fact that I didn't even think about. Hey man, we got all 5 of our starting offensive linemen returning this season. Essentially, this is the floor of what it is. So they can add a developmental tackle or developmental guard and keep building this thing up. They can continue leaning on those second-year guys to get more strength in this offseason and get stronger, and maybe even take a role. Cool. Like that all sounds great. So overall, then I think O-line is probably third on that list. It should be on the list, yes, but it's third on that list. So I'm going DT, cornerback, O-line, probably in that order.
So let me tell you this, Travis. Your answer is fantastic. I'm going to divert from you, and it's going to be controversial, and people are going to call me a homer. The correct answer is, in fact, offensive line, and let me tell you why.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned the returning starting lineman. You have a preview to why I don't think that's a lock in Wednesday's episode of the Duval Dive. When I said the returning starting O-linemen are returning, but that doesn't mean they're not bait for trading to get back into that first round. And you and I both know that Jimmy Stones has a penchant for, well, I'm not going to be obnoxious and play the clip about being bold when he has to be bold, but I think there's an element. I think there's still movement, right? Yeah. I don't think, listen, in a world where De'Ami Brown basically disappeared after being a huge offseason pickup free agency, watching Tyson Campbell get disappeared as the franchise quarter after a number of questionable, no, we'll just call them bad performances at his position. You're going to try to tell me that James Gladstone, that Jimmy Stones didn't notice Walker Little struggling at that tackle position, and when Cole Van Lanen was hurt, it is clear the depth at the left tackle position is in fact a problem. And I've made the statement already that the offensive line is a 2-year developing position. The 2 positions today, I'll even say 3 if you want to cut me a little slack, although I will acknowledge that Anton might be on thinner ice at right tackle. I'll call right tackle a locked-in position now. The 3 positions that I would call closest to locked in are center, despite all your questions and concern regarding the arrival of Robert Hainsey. He's been a fit. I'm sorry, dog. Ezra Cleveland at guard right now, and then Anton at right tackle. The other 2 spots, I'm not going to say they're questionable, but they're certainly upgradable. And completing that left tackle spot, can you imagine Trevor Lawrence having a full bit of time being actually comfortable? Wait, you can. It's called the back half of this past regular season. And the moment there was a playoff game where somebody with remote talent was in play and Cole Van Lanen wasn't, there were issues that altered the course of postseason history for Jacksonville. You're going to tell me that doesn't sit? Nah.
Yeah. So if they don't have a developmental swing tackle on the roster, and I mean, unless you truly believe that that's what Wyatt Milam is, because he can play guard, but he played tackle in college, then at that point, you then need a true developmental swing tackle. But that doesn't make it necessarily the priority. And that's where I'm kind of like, I get it, though.
I think it does, especially in a world where your defense was number 1 in stopping the run with what you have, where the corners are so limited by injury more than it is the talent pool. Let's be bleeping honest, right? Jordan Lewis, Caleb Bransall, Travis Hunter, all you're down 3. What the hell is it with the DB position in Jacksonville that these cats are always missing at least 4 or 5 damn guys by the end of the season? It's insane. So that's why I go O-line.
I get you. I'm just thinking, hey man, the defensive tackle position for pass rushing has not been where it's at.
Correct.
You're getting no production from from Mason Smith, who may or may not even be on the roster in 2024. 2024. Lord, I'm going in the past. 2026. You may not even be on the roster. You got Eric Armstead, who's getting up in age, but it's not like after his injury, he fell off. I'm really just hoping it was related to his injury, but after he was in that cast, he was 32nd in the league. The defensive tackle group was 32nd in the league in pressures and had 0 sacks. So overall, all of a sudden he went from being 5 sacks early in the season, top of the league, to none the rest of the time. You got to start looking at that. Like, is that something there, or am I missing something? Like,
if we're going to
see.
question Devon Hamilton coming back from his injury being as productive as I did early on, we have to do the same of Eric Armstead at this point. I agree.
No, we don't. Man, one person had a hand in the cast for a little bit. The other one had a broken, I don't even know what to call it, an abscess on your back, a broken back, Mike Tyson. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to figure out what to call it. But a back issue is not comparable to a hand issue. I'm sorry.
No. I don't mean to say they're perfect examples, but to ask the questions regarding an injury. Obviously, D. Ham and his back is. Hey, by the way, I appreciate you giving me that much credit to be more skeptical of a back injury than of Eric Armstead and not calling me a Niners homer. I appreciate that, but you know. You have to look at it because the other factor with Eric Armstead is his age at this juncture.
That's the other part, because you having the potential ability to move on with this roster already trying to make it younger by the minute, by the day, by the hour, and the fact that Gladstone comes he goes out of his way to mention the best teams are the ones that are molded and are morphed and are changed throughout the year, not the ones that are changed and molded throughout the offseason. Like, you make your offseason moves, but it's actually what you do in the season that makes the most significant changes. That lets you know this dude gonna be trading. And every time I see these late round draft picks, that's all I think about is, or these 7th round, 6th round draft picks that they love to collect like Pokemon cards. Is that this is a veteran. This is a veteran. I'm looking for a veteran out there and making these trades because I'm just trying to collect them all in that way. So that's always where my antennas go up whenever I hear him make that comment. And he made it again in that presser. And I expect the Jaguars to make a lot of more trades, for those buy low opportunities moving forward.
Okay. I think you're satisfied with how this pod went then.
I am. I'm sorry, but the Duval Dive, y'all know I love you, and you know I love talking ball to the point where I'm not going to let this podcast end without talking some real football, at least, because I know that's the question you guys want. So
you don't think Jimmy Stones was talking real ball with you? Anyways,
I think Jimmy Stones was talking real ball, but now we're talking about something related to the roster, something related to the players in that way. So it's a little closer to home. You got me
right on, champion. Tell them where they can get you, my guy.
You know where I can be found. Travis D. Holmes on all the socials. I mean, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, please click that like button and maybe even comment on the stream. Help us out there because this thing's growing and it's because you guys continue talking. But more importantly, if you have something that you want to hear about, that you want to talk about, hop into one of the live streams, leave a comment, or if it's one of the recordings, leave a comment on the YouTube or on the socials, on the Duval Dive TikTok. We got Duval Dive on X. Like, we're all over the place. Just let us know what you want to talk about, and maybe we'll make it a segment on the show. Maybe we'll make it a whole pod if it's a meaty enough subject. So this is the off season. This is grab bag time. It's time for you guys to tell us what you want to talk about, and we will have that conversation back and forth. Not just Kyle and I.
About to say, we spent 10 minutes talking about a YouTube comment, my dude. Shoot.
Right, from TP Lifter, right, 137. I don't know if I actually said it out loud for you audio listeners, but that was who left that comment.
I did. It's all good. I had you, dog. We're all right.
But let them know where you can be found, bro.
Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky and Twitter as well, at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game, and check out my writings with the Black and Gold Banneret, as well as the Night Shift podcast covering UCF football and basketball. Smells Like Work covering the Orlando Magic and your Jacksonville Jaguars. So thanks again, Duval Dive, as we're in full off-season swing, coming off of the end of the 2025 campaign, and more to come. Please shout us out in the grab bag. Find us on Twitter, Travis D. Holmes and of course at the SOTG. Hit us up with grab bag suggestions as you have them, and let's keep the conversation rolling. I mean, we got plenty already. I know there's going to be conversations about Etienne and Devin Lloyd and more. I know next week we're going to do position grades for 2025. That's going to be a whole thing. Look out for all of that. But in the meantime, for all of you Duval Divers, for my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes, this is Kyle Nash. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.